Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Cardonick. I'm VP of Product Marketing at Adverity. Welcome to the webinar, Why Gen AI is No Longer a Buzzword for Marketers. We're absolutely thrilled to be joined by our guest speaker today, Katie Linford, who's a Principal Analyst at Forrester. And she's going to delve deep into all things Gen AI and discuss opportunities and challenges marketers face. Just before we begin, just a couple of really quick housekeeping items to get out of the way. If you have any questions at all, feel free to submit them via the Q&A icon at the very bottom of your screen, and we'll cover them during the last 5 to 10 minutes of the webinar. If you have any issues, you can just send us a message in the chat and we'll get those resolved for you. Also, for reference, we're going to be sending out the recording over the next couple of days, as well as some additional materials that might be useful for you. So just keep an eye out for your emails. As you guys all know, at this point, Gen AI continues to gain significant attention and has really become a prominent topic for discussion across pretty much every department and every company around the world, really. A recent study from McKinsey estimated that Gen AI has the potential to generate nearly $4.4 trillion annually across different sectors, which is huge. And although many of us are still experimenting with it, we can definitely start to see the impact it's having on businesses, including increased productivity, increased efficiency, and even innovation by leveraging tools like ChatGPT, Bard, and others. This topic is very much top of mind for us at Adverity, as we've recently announced the integration of generative AI into our product strategy and roadmap, which I'll talk a little bit later on about very briefly. For those of you that have not worked with Adverity, our mission is really to help marketing and analyst teams to make better decisions and improve performance by automating the integration, governance, and management of their data. And so we've been really working on ways to incorporate generative AI into our product to enable easier and faster data management for our clients. And with further ado, I will pass this over to Katie, who is going to jump in on the content.
Right. Thanks, Jess. AI really is such a powerful tool that has been doing so much for marketing and will continue to do even more for them. And we're seeing this reflected in how much people are spending on AI. Over 60% of B2B companies plan to significantly increase their AI investments over the next year. Now, there are a number of factors that are driving this, including things like the greater availability of AI data and tools, the growing need for organizations to automate tasks and improve efficiency, and of course, the ever-increasing demand by our audience for personalized customer experiences. One of the big areas we're seeing companies invest some of this in is on conversation automation solutions. Now, marketers use these technologies to engage and enable their audiences that are seeking to self-serve information and get recommended next actions through personalized, responsive conversations. Generative AI is one of the tools that helps power these technologies. And of course, another big uptick, not surprisingly, is in those Gen AI investments. Now, more specifically here, almost 50% of organizations are looking to Gen AI to help their employees use self-service to get the data and analytics they need. There's a lot of value to be gained here, and we'll dig into this more later in the presentation. With generative AI and all of the messaging that's out there about it, one of the things that we found in talking with our clients is this massive messaging swirl has made it difficult to differentiate between generative AI and other forms of AI. So let's draw a few practical distinctions between the different forms of AI capabilities that marketing is leveraging. So we're going to start at the bottom with automation AI. This is the one that's been around the longest. It's all about optimizing productivity. It reduces workload and increases accuracy and time to market by automating repetitive routine tasks and workflows. Now, moving clockwise, perceptive AI assesses large quantities of data, particularly numbers, and provides an interpretation of what all of those numbers mean. Predictive AI then analyzes that data and those insights and makes quantitative predictions based on trends and patterns and correlations. Prescriptive AI, on the other hand, is interested in helping marketing beat those numbers. Its focus is on optimizing outcomes by providing next step guidance on what marketers should do to drive engagement forward and optimize and create those personalized experiences. Finally, generative AI, though not new, is the most recent addition to this evolving set of AI capabilities. And using prompt interfaces, it has the ability to generate new content based on learned patterns and large language models. And where we see Gen AI really shine is when it's used in combination with these other AI forms. You can find these types of AI all across the MarTech stack. And we're seeing it really come into play to enable access to information on buyer behavior and preferences, and automating and orchestrating activities. AI is such a powerful tool for helping organizations meet increasing audience demands for that optimized engagement across all of these various touch points and channels, and provide the insights that marketing needs so they can make smarter, more accurate decisions. Now, these technologies support top use cases we're seeing marketing leveraging AI for, like targeting, four-step personalization, orchestration, and capturing all of those valuable insights. And we're now seeing Gen AI starting to make much bigger strides in tools where it's been much less common before, like CRM, map, and SEO. We're going to take a look at 4 key areas where Gen AI can make a difference for marketing: buyer engagement, employee productivity, and content generation and analysis and interpretation. First, buyer engagement. Now, audiences are no longer satisfied with the disjointed, one-size-fits-all engagements that we've been serving them. They're looking for better customer experiences, one that's cohesive, consistent, and tailored to fit their needs and preferences. So let's look at an example where Gen AI can help solve a buyer engagement challenge. Chatbots are one of the ways that our audiences are choosing to engage with us digitally. They're reaching out to get support or find answers to questions. But more often than not, they leave with nothing more than a higher level of frustration than when they started. So marketers can use Gen AI-powered chatbots and virtual assistants to co-create, guide better conversations, supply content recommendations, and provide learnings from those interactions, all geared toward driving better experiences for the audience. And none of us are a stranger to the type of necessary busy work that drains all the time out of our day and takes us away from the more strategic, high-value work we should be focusing on. And one of the biggest benefits to AI is speed. So here's just one example of how we can leverage the speed of generative AI to automate and expedite some of marketing's tasks. Scaling outbound engagement is a big one. Things like email sequences for marketing campaigns, especially with that sufficient and appropriate personalization, is a complex and resource intensive. But Gen AI can help save time and improve productivity by monitoring, summarizing, and surfacing a range of insights that can inform those outbound engagement strategies. And generative AI email assistants allow marketing to more quickly and create and publish multi-touch sequences with that improved personalization. Now, generating content is one of the core capabilities of generative AI. It can not only help with things like ideation and metadata and basic authoring, it can do it in a way that's tailored and data-driven. I'm sure many of us have experienced this marketing struggle to support, personalize, repurpose, repackage, and refresh all that content we have. And with such broad demands, it's really hard for content owners to identify where to focus and prioritize these constrained, highly skilled, expensive content creation efforts, which sadly often results in content waste. But generative AI can help marketers move faster to create variations of content and leverage real-time AI-powered search to find assets or content components. And it can extract massive amounts of digital interaction data to understand people's content preferences, helping ensure that our teams are really focused on those priority content needs. Now, one thing we are not short on these days is data. Now, we may not have all the right data, and it may not be in the best condition, and that makes it even more difficult to get the insights we need. While generative AI is not the magic wand for fixing your data, it can help get access to what you have. So our users are struggling to find the answers they're looking for, as reports and dashboards a lot of times will go unupdated simply due to the fact that our data and ops teams are just buried in unending queue of ad hoc requests, and it's just impossible for them to keep up. And once users get access to the data they need, they often struggle to interpret what it means and how they should use it. So generative AI allows these data ops and analytics teams to more easily create dashboards and reports so they can better balance where they spend their time and spend more of it helping with that user interpretation and guidance. And it can actually help those users become more self-sufficient and better engage with these reports and dashboards by aiding with summarization and interpreting what the data is telling them, and providing even some initial guidance on root cause to guide marketers toward, deeper analysis that might be needed. And it can also notify users of some anomalies and trends so that they can be explored more deeply.
Yeah, this is those are all really, really good points, Katie. And I would say at Adverity, we think that Gen AI will be a real game changer in this particular area, since obviously it can identify patterns and trends and really enable more informed decision making, as well as predict future trends based on historical data. Gen AI, with its ability to extract meaning from existing data, is obviously hugely beneficial. However, I want to just make one point. It's really important to note that the quality of the outcomes is really dependent on the quality of your data. So it goes back to the old garbage in, garbage out saying, which is what you were sort of alluding to earlier. Additionally, I think data governance is another big area to focus on. What processes do you have in place? Who owns the data? Where is your data stored, and who is it? How is it accessed? And what's the quality of your data? And really thinking about answering all of these more sort of unsexy questions that really highlight an organization's data maturity. And that's something we'll touch on briefly in a couple of minutes as well.
Yeah, and it really is all about the data. As Jessica said, your AI tools, your AI outcomes are only going to be as good as the data that it's fed, right? Because that's how these generative AI works, is these models are trained on these vast amounts of data. So getting to a place of that data confidence is no small feat for a lot of organizations, but evolving your data maturity and strategy is an essential step to get the value out of your generative AI investments.
Yes, so I won't go through this slide in detail, but what we wanted to do is just highlight this to show how we are currently approaching data maturity at Adverity and helping our clients really determine where they fall on this maturity scale. Knowing your organization's data maturity is essential, as what we've seen is, some clients trying to walk, clients trying to run before they walk, and really falling down at the first hurdle. So something that's particularly important when trying to leverage generative AI for analytics and decision making. So it's really essential that you have your data operations and really data foundation in place first, and you really create that single source of truth for all your disparate data sets before you can really even consider leveraging generative AI, which is what Katie was saying earlier. And ultimately, if you do that, it'll have a significant impact on marketing performance and really your ability to demonstrate the ROI of your program. So it's a big one if you get this one right. This maturity, this chart, we actually have a quiz on our website, and you can take that and really get a sense of where you fall within this maturity curve. So we will send that out after the webinar, and also it's a link. It's in a link in the chat as well. So yeah, just go ahead and take that quiz and see where you fall on the maturity scale.
And we're going to keep talking about data for a bit, because it really is so important, not just for generative AI, but for so much that marketing does. And we're seeing data challenges eroding the ways that marketing could be leveraging AI. Our data shows that B2B marketing decision makers say that quality and access of data is among their top 3 challenges for achieving their goals. Now, marketing teams are gearing up to tackle these decisions, these data challenges. These decision makers who answered this first question also put in their top 3 needs for meeting their marketing priorities, improving the quality of buyer, customer, and partner data or market data over the next 12 months. And so if we think about this, of all of the challenges and all of the needs that marketers have in meeting their objectives and their priorities, data takes up half of these top 6 spots. So this really speaks to how critical good data is for marketing to be successful. And our successful companies are more likely to recognize this and treat data as a valuable corporate asset and not just a byproduct of their customer engagements or operations. So here are a few ways that we're seeing these companies with increasing revenue do more to support this. So firstly, they are starting at the top with their leadership, and they're instilling a culture of data-driven decision-making. They're improving how they transform raw data into actionable insights so the businesses can improve decision-making and outcomes. And they understand that everyone in the company needs data, and data is everyone's responsibility. So they're focusing on company-wide data literacy. And to support all of this, they are they're increasing their data engineering efforts. But doing this, even with a robust engineering team, is not insignificant. So businesses are turning to generative AI to help them solve some of these data challenges. So when we asked organizations, what are their top most important use cases for generative AI in the next 12 months, 40% of respondents said improving data discovery, curation, processing, and data quality. And this was just barely knocked out of the top 2 spots by personalization and employee productivity, both which came in at 42%. So this is really something that organization-wide, not just in marketing, everyone is looking to tackle. It's such a critical element. Now, another reason high quality data is essential for generative AI and for organizations is not just for this accuracy and efficiency, it's about mitigating risks as well. So we divided the risks of using generative AI large language models into input, model, and output risks. So first, input risks. Generative AI models, of course, are trained on these large amounts of data. And failing to understand and control exactly what data is being used, its level of security, privacy, and quality, how it's going to be used, and who has access to it can put you at serious risk, because what you put into these models is what you get out of it. So moving to our model risks, these models will do things like demonstrate bias if bias is inherent in the data that it was trained on. Same thing with toxic, harmful, and disrespectful views and language. And what we get out of a model that is fed poor data and isn't fully trained is what still seems to be all over the news about generative AI. Leaked sensitive information, copyright infringements, and hallucinations, all of which create that poor experience for our customers and ultimately really damages our brand and reputation. Our data shows that the greatest barrier to AI adoption is data privacy and security concerns. But by understanding what those risks are, you can help ensure that your data is in the right place to mitigate and control those issues and feel confident in leveraging these great tools that are such a big benefit for marketing. So let's take a look at what is next for generative AI. So generative AI really does have the power to bring about a paradigm shift for how marketers connect with customers and how they are getting their work done. It can revolutionize experiences by enabling us to really tailor interactions and messaging to each individual's unique preferences and needs. We need to go beyond just, dear first name and call it personalization. It's not cutting it anymore. Its ability to unlock customer insights will enable marketers to gain a deeper understanding of their customers than they ever have before. And our marketers have been craving this. These valuable insights can guide marketing strategies, inform product development, and optimize customer acquisition and retention efforts, which is such a key part of how we continue to grow and increase our revenue. And generative AI will allow marketers to do all this much faster. Things like content generation, campaign optimization, and creative asset development can be streamlined and accelerated, freeing up marketers to focus their time on the high-value initiatives that only they can do. Now, one question I get a lot is about how generative AI will impact the future of work. So AI has been impacting the way we work for years, and it will continue to do so with generative AI. But if you think about it, this is why we create and continue to improve technology to make what we do and the work we produce better and easier to accomplish. In so many ways, we've been asking marketing to produce dynamic, real-time, personalized experiences at the speeds our audiences are demanding without giving them the tools that they need to be successful at this job. So will marketing change jobs and work? Will generative AI change jobs and work? Absolutely. In the future, will it take jobs? With the way the roles and skill sets are currently structured? Some. Will it create even more jobs and roles than we have now? When hasn't technology done that? And remember, that's what generative AI is, technology. It's a tool for us to use. It does not implement itself. It will not do anything unless it's told to do so. It doesn't know if it did something right or wrong without a human in the loop to tell it. So humans will always be a part of this. They will always be in that loop. And this technology is coming fast. So the question we really need to be asking isn't how will generative AI, take my job? It's how can we prepare our organizations with the right skills and insights to use this powerful tool? Now, how we interact with generative AI will also evolve as the features evolve and as we continue to gain more value from this technology. It has the potential to significantly increase the value of intent data by including user prompts and making it easier to integrate intent into automated campaigns and content creation. Now, generative AI in combination with other AI approaches will enable greater accuracy to track and evaluate contribution and engagement from different channels, which is a huge problem that marketers have been looking to solve. And as the adoption of conversation intelligence widens, we'll develop a stronger understanding of engagement strategies and weaknesses that will drive better coaching and training and development efforts to the specific needs of each individual. And generative AI will optimize the production of dynamic, real-time, modular content and offers, guiding marketing with specific engagement and messaging really tailored to each scenario they're in. And the increasing capability of Gen AI to support dynamic localization of content will provide content owners with new options for this big problem that we see with supporting in-region needs. So a great future, and how do you get started? The first and most important step is to make sure you're starting with defined goals and strategies that clearly outline what success means. You can't measure success if you don't have it defined. And implementing a new tool without that direction can lead you away from focusing your time and resources on the things that are really going to provide value for your customers. Next is making sure that the data that you're leveraging, of course, is high quality, secure, and compliant. And it's essential to not only be training your models, but training your leaderships and teams. A huge part of successful and happy marketing teams is focusing on the education that they need to leverage these powerful tools. And we've all experienced those technology rollouts where the tool doesn't quite behave the way we thought it would. So it's best practice with any new solution to start small and experiment with pilots, learn what works, what doesn't, and optimize the tool and processes before leveraging it more broadly. And finally, that governance piece that Jessica was talking about is critical here. So ensure that the governance policies are being updated as they are needed for these new scenarios, and that the guidance is being really clearly communicated to your teams. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jessica to share a few highlights of how Adverity is incorporating generative AI into the roadmap.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie. That was super useful. As I mentioned earlier, we recently announced the integration of generative AI into our product roadmap and strategy. And really our aim is to continue to increase the value for our customers by giving them the quickest and easiest way to get the insights they need, by helping them to consolidate and manage their data. And by integrating generative AI into our platform, we can ensure that our platform is even easier to use for our customers to use. It's essentially about taking our product offering to the next level and helping our customers do the same. So just wanted to cover really briefly what we've been working on and what we continue to work on. With a focus on applying Gen AI, where it solves real problems for our customers. We focused on really the following areas. One is around our enrichment copilot. It's the first thing that we're launching, and we're already in a beta with this. We're going to be launching a whole suite of features that are powered by Gen AI under this copilot umbrella. Users will be able to use this assistant to help with creating data transformations. So by inputting the requirements they have, the assistant will automatically create the code for the transformation, as well as provide step-by-step instructions on how to implement the desired outcomes. Another one, really a huge one, and an area that we know a lot of our customers are interested in is to utilize Gen AI to establish connectivity faster. We get lots of requests for additional connectors, more connectors, and we're really looking at becoming much quicker with creating these for our customers. Another core area of focus is around automating repetitive analytics tasks. So we'll do this through natural language data analytics. The integration with AI tools such as ChatGPT really will enable users to ask questions using very non-technical, everyday language and receive instant answers to their database questions, really simplifying the data analytics process. Lastly, proactive analytics. So users will be able to interact with their data and request digestible summaries within the tables, which can then be validated and put into action or used as the basis for further targeted analysis. So that's just some examples of what we've been up to from a product roadmap perspective. And then the next slide, Katie, if you don't mind. Oh, perfect. Just really briefly, just some of the benefits that these will provide to our customers. Very obvious time savings through easy access to vast amounts of data, faster onboarding and better assistance in data transformations, really catering to our less technical users in a lot of ways here. Less waiting time and dependencies on engineering and our product team for new connectors, as well as quicker and faster journey to generating insights on the platform itself. We know the impact that Gen AI will have on businesses over the next few years is really huge. And so we'll continue to evolve our solution to incorporate the latest technologies in order to continue to increase value for our customers. With that, I will stop and take some questions. Let me go ahead. I know we just have a couple of minutes left, so let me just take a couple of questions here. Let's see. Question for Katie. When implementing generative AI, what are the most common pitfalls that people can fall into?
The first one is generating AI just for the sake of generating AI, of onboarding generative AI just for the sake of onboarding generative AI. It's really interesting because there's a lot of fear around generative AI still. And there's this fear of using it that is combined with this fear of missing out on not using it. And we are seeing that FOMO really take over and seeing companies just, go headfirst into getting a generative AI solution without thinking about what is it that they're bringing it in to do? How do they plan to use it? What are they looking to improve or gain? What value do they want it to add? And they're doing this in these silos as well. So they're ending up with this collection of generative AI tools that are, again, just brought in for that tech for tech's sake, new shiny object purpose. And then they are also ending up with duplicate functionality and overinvestment in technology because they're not working across teams to coordinate these efforts and really target these pilots on the most important work that needs to be done. So that's probably the biggest pitfall that I'm seeing with organizations right now. Yep.
No, that's really, really helpful. I think this is an important one around content development, since a lot of, I think, obviously, we're seeing generative AI being used quite a bit in that area. What challenges or issues should you be aware of when it comes to using generative AI for content development? I think you alluded to some of these already, but I'll let you go ahead and answer that one.
Yeah, that comes almost back to this first point of just using it for its sake. One of the things that we hear from users is that they are really inundated with the amount of content that we are serving them. And we are trying to fix that problem by just generating more content and hoping that we get the right content out there. And without having direction, without understanding what content our customers are looking for, how they're looking to engage with this content, by employing generative AI, we can really just make this problem worse by creating more content that isn't what our users are looking for faster. So it needs to be driven by customer insights, by audience engagement, and really focused on taking the load off of marketing for some of these content pieces where it can be helpful. So again, that we can get them focused on the high value work of engaging with clients.
Do you believe that there will be a gap between those businesses that incorporate generative AI and those who don't, say in the next 12 to 18 months?
Yes, in the next 12 to 18 months for sure. With all of the benefits that we just went over that generative AI can have for marketing, without, really considering these tools and how they can be brought into your organization. Companies who are avoiding them or not considering them are going to fall behind in some of those key areas we talked about around that data analysis and interpretation, around the content generation, and making our teams more productive. So, but again, don't bring it in just because it's generative AI and, and Katie said that you'll get behind if you don't use it. You got to use it in the right way. But there are too many great things that it can offer, and the companies who use it in the right way are going to gain an advantage in the next 12 to 18 months. And we're going to see it be available in more tools like the way that Adverity is using it. So bringing it in and bringing it in safely and securely is going to get much easier soon.
Great. Another question for you was around policies. So obviously, data privacy and data security and copyright infringement, they're all like really reasonable concerns and huge risks. Would you say that most of the clients that you've been speaking to have already started building those policies and putting those things in place, or are you seeing a lot of experimentation without necessarily putting those, guardrails in place, I guess, so to speak?
I'm really still seeing a good mix of customers who are just going ahead with experimentation, customers who are really thinking about the policy, and customers who this feels really big for them and are kind of avoiding it entirely. And so, because of the different ways that you can utilize generative AI, from open models like ChatGPT and Bard to, bringing in your own language model and managing that in-house, and using generative AI through applications and software like Adverity, right? There is an understanding that needs to happen around how you're bringing in generative AI, how you are or are not using your own data with that model, and then working with those policies to get those updated based on those specific scenarios. So it's not necessarily that you have to go forward with this big generative AI policy without knowing how you're planning to use generative AI, because you may waste a lot of time and effort putting into place things that aren't going to be relative if, say, you're not going to use some of those public AI models in, again, those tools like ChatGPT and Bard.
Yep, no, that makes sense. I think we have time for just one more question. How would you, and let me know if you can answer this one, Katie, how would you assess the maturity of Gen AI for data analytics, i.e. data robot, data GPT, et cetera? Do you have any insight there?
I think it's on the cusp. So there are, again, those different types of AI capabilities that we talked about. And when it comes to data analytics, there are a number of those, right? Perceptive and predictive AI capabilities that are really critical. So what we're seeing is the evolution of those capabilities along with this addition of generative AI to allow users to use natural language to engage with them. They're using generative AI to better fill in data gaps and to, create larger amounts of data based on, a small amount of data so they can train their models. So it's really close. I think we're going to see some pretty significant improvements and evolution there in the next 6 months. And these companies are very well aware of those security policies and things like that. So they are taking the time to make sure that they are getting this right and that this is being set up in a way that is really scalable and usable for their clients.
Great. Well, I think we're out of time now. So just want to say thank you to Katie from Forrester, and thank you all for joining. Really hope that you found this insightful. And we will be in touch via email with a link to the recording, as well as some additional generative AI focused materials for you. Yeah, thanks again so much.